Ladies and gentlemen, 2015 is finally over. No, it's not over when the clock hits January 1st. The clock is over once I've seen all the movies I need to see for the year. Now, I've poured my heart and soul into this shit all year, going out of my way to see as many movies as I can, so let's get straight into it. This year, I saw 96 2015 releases, and I'm really happy with that. And I'm going to talk about my favourite ones, so I figure let's get straight into it. I'm going to try to keep this reasonably to the point, but at the same time, this is movies. I'm gonna ramble on a lot. So I really hope you guys enjoy this list. And keep in mind, this is my personal opinion. Don't get angry and flame me because my movies don't match up with yours, because, you know, obviously we're different people. Now, a big reason I had that disclaimer just then is because my first honourable mention is Star Wars The Force Awakens. It's a great blockbuster, a really fun time at the movies, but I've always been more inclined to smaller films and stuff. And while The Force Awakens is a great blockbuster, it didn't really have a huge impact on me, and it doesn't bring that many new ideas to the table. My next honourable mention is Holding the Man. It's an Australian drama about Tim Conograve and John Callio, a gay couple in the 1980s, I believe, and it's just a really great love story, but nobody saw it. Slow West, a western starring Michael Fassbender and Cody Smith-McPhee. It's really funny in a dark way. It has amazing cinematography, amazing music, and it's a slow build-up to a ripping climax. Definitely check this one out. Straight Outta Compton. They couldn't have done NWA biopic any better than this. It was a great movie and electrifying in the concert scenes. Victoria, a German foreign language film about a girl who gets caught up in a night of partying, and it's shot in a single take, and it was so impressive. Not like Birdman, where they edited it to look like a single take. They actually shot this 2-hour movie in one take. It's very impressive and has some great performances. My final honourable mention is one that really hurt me to leave off the list, Kingsman: The Secret Service. It's one of the funniest movies of the year, a great send-up of Bond, and it was better than the actual Bond film that came out this year. Now, 2015 hasn't been as great as 2014 was for films, but there was still a lot of consistently good gems, so let's get into it. This movie is The Fault in Our Stars crossed with Wes Anderson, but without the cliches and the miniatures. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl is about Greg. He's an insecure teenager and he befriends this girl who's dying of cancer, and yes, you may think, oh, Fault in Our Stars, you know, they'll have a relationship and it'll be really sad and they'll die together and stuff like that. This ain't that kind of movie. It's just a great, really quirky, funny indie comedy, a coming-of-age film. I love coming-of-age films. Thomas Mann is great in the lead role, and what's great about this movie is it's not sentimental, it's not sappy, and the dramatic moments work. They feel real. The characters feel honest and natural, and it doesn't shoehorn in this corny ass freaking love story to try and make you care about the characters, because the characters actually have character, they have personalities, they have hobbies. And the two main characters of this film, the two of them make these really short parody films, and they're really bad, but they're really funny, and the movie just spoke to me with a love of cinema, and it's just really well done.
So you and Greg are co-workers?
Nah, we friends. He just hate calling people his friend. Dude's got issues.
Yeah, he does.
Robert Zemeckis, you've done it again. The Walk is an extremely underrated movie from 2015 about Philip Petit, the famous high-wire walker, and he was the man who, while the Twin Towers were being constructed, he strung a tightrope across them and walked along. Well, not a tightrope, that's quite simple. It's a bloody wire, and this movie's just as much about the setup as it is about the payoff, and this movie has a great setup. It's slow, but at the same time, you know, it's really funny. There's a lot of stuff happening, and yeah, it's a little cheesy at times, but it's so awe-inspiring. It makes you think you can follow your dreams, and that is what I loved about The Walk. It's such a stressful build-up, the half an hour, because him and his accomplices, they have to go and set up the wire on the tower without being caught, because they're not really supposed to be up there, and it's really tense actually during these scenes. But then when he gets up on that wire, you just feel nothing but awe. It is so inspiring. It is so well done. And Robert Zemeckis is great at this sort of stuff. CGI is used so well to recreate the towers, and the movie serves as a love letter to the towers and what they meant for so many people. And since he did this when they were being built, it kind of connected people and made a lot of people like the towers.
But then I have to dare to look down.
Who would have thought watching people talk for 2 hours could be so goddamn riveting? Steven Spielberg has done it again. This man is a master behind the camera, and I believe this movie was written by the Coen brothers, who are, masters at script writing. And this movie, let me tell you, there's like no action, it's just all dialogue. It's all trade negotiations. No, not the Star Wars kind of bad trade negotiations. It's about negotiating to return a Russian spy to Russia and an American spy to America. They've both been captured, and Mark Rylance, who played the Russian spy, did such a fantastic job, and he was a sympathetic character, and it portrayed them as like, it wasn't just some traitor as everyone saw, it was just a guy doing his job for his country, just as the American spy was, and it was really well done in that sense. And just every line of dialogue in this is so great and so just riveting. I can watch this, it's like watching an action movie but with words. And yeah, if you're into action and explosions and stuff, I wouldn't recommend this movie to you. But if you just want to watch a great cinematic story be told, then Bridge of Spies is absolutely fantastic and really, really underrated by a lot of people.
Well, the boss isn't always right, but he's always the boss.
Do you never worry?
Would it help?
Now, Youth is a smaller film looking at, growing up, growing old, how people perceive each other, how old people look back on youth and how young people look up on old people. And I don't really know how to describe this movie. It was just really, really mesmerizing to me. Michael Caine plays a retired orchestra conductor. He's on holiday in the Alps, and Harvey Keitel's there. He's a film director and everything like that. And everything just comes together in this movie, and just, it's so emotional. I'm not going to bother trying to recount the story of this movie to you because it doesn't have a whole lot of a story. What this movie is just observing a wide array of characters at this holiday resort in the Alps, and you think, God, that must sound so boring. And to a lot of people it will be. But Youth is just a study on human nature and about life and about legacy, and it really, really struck a chord with me emotionally, and it's really going to resonate more with older audiences. But I would really, really recommend checking it out. It's an Italian director, Paolo Sorrentino, and this movie has amazing cinematography, a beautiful soundtrack, and just, it really, really gives you a whole lot to think about.
And the Queen would very much like to give him a concert by the BBC Concert Orchestra.
I don't conduct anymore.
Well, I'm sure you've not forgotten how it's done.
No, I haven't forgotten how it's done.
Beasts of No Nation, I believe Netflix's first original movie that they've, paid for and distributed and stuff. And Kerry Fukunaga, this guy's a man to watch. He did the first season of True Detective, which was really, really well regarded. And this movie, he's done it again, starring Idris Elba and newcomer Abraham Atta. And Abraham Atta, the young kid, steals this movie. It's set in an unnamed African country, and it's about child soldiers. It's this kid, and his family's killed. He has to flee his village, and he's recruited and brainwashed into becoming a child soldier. And the movie just gives you a unflinching and heartbreaking look at that process. And Abraham Atta gave an absolutely phenomenal performance as this kid. He'd never even acted before. He's a kid they pulled off the streets, and he was absolutely pitch perfect. Idris Elba was great, completely snubbed from an Oscar nomination, and the cinematography is great in this movie. And what I like about it is that it's about a very, very dark situation, but it's still, it has a sense of hope. I'm not going to spoil where it goes, but the movie never loses hope for its characters, and I think that's really, really important to have.
We will not wait to inherit any wealth. We will not wait for them to come and give it to us. No, sir. We are going to take it. Yes, sir. We're going to take it from them. Yes, sir. Seize it.
Yes, sir.
The Stanford Prison Experiment. Now, this is another movie that really went under the radar. Not a lot of people really saw it and talked about it, but I had eyes on it because of the amazing cast. It has so many young, up-and-coming actors. Thomas Mann, Ezra Miller, who I would say is definitely the standout in this, Michael Angarano, Johnny Simmons, and just tons more. There's so many freaking people in this movie, but I've got to say, Ezra Miller's the standout. That dude can act. And what this movie is about, it's set in the 70s and it's based off this real experiment where at Stanford College they put, I believe, 9 students were guards and 9 were prisoners, and they created a mock prison under the school. And what happened is it kind of got out of hand and the guards started taking their power too seriously, and it blurred the lines between reality and experiment, and it got pretty out of hand. And this movie is just so well done. It's contained in this small place, but it's full of explosive performances and it's really intense. Now, I highly recommend it. It's a really energetic piece of filmmaking.
I need not remind you of rule number 1. I don't want any more talking.
Uh-oh. Look at this guy. Thinks he's John Wayne or something. The fuck, man?
Now, this was right up there as one of my most anticipated movies of the goddamn year, and that is Sicario, because Denis Villeneuve is really becoming a director to watch. Prisoners put him on the map for me. That was probably my favourite film of 2013 at the time, and Enemy, which he released last year, was absolutely fantastic. This movie, it stars Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, and Josh Brolin, and it is about the Mexican drug war. Now, this guy is branching out into a lot of different sort of storylines for his movies. He seems to have settled into thrillers, but God, this is just so good. The first act and the third act of this movie are some of the most suspenseful and intense filmmaking I've ever seen put to film. It is incredible. This scene when they're driving on the highway through to the border of Mexico and they don't know, who's watching them, who is someone planning to kill them. It is so intense. The musical score just really amplifies all this. And Roger Deakins, dude, is a master of cinematography. He's been nominated for 13 Oscars and he still hasn't won one, and I don't know how he hasn't bloody won one yet, because the dude is an absolute genius. But yeah, Sicario is full of so many great, intense moments and performances. It's really gritty and realistic, and if it weren't for the second act dragging a little bit, it'd be right up there, probably in my top 5.
Don't move! Cúbrete!
No! Compas. Suelte la pistola. Tírela. Pregunta, paisanos. ¿Quieren morir?
Now, this was probably my most anticipated movie of the year, because Iñárritu won my heart with Birdman, which was my second favourite film of 2014, and I just could not wait to see what he did next. And teaming up again with Emmanuel Lubezki, probably one of the greatest cinematographers working today, right up there with Roger Deakins at the moment. And Revenant, it's breathtaking. This is the best photographed movie I've ever seen. The camera work is second to none. The cinematography is absolutely phenomenal. They used a trick. They shot in all natural light. They shot in these really remote freaking locations out in the snowy mountains in Canada and stuff, and the shooting conditions were crazy. They only had like 90 minutes to shoot for each day because they had to get the perfect daylight, because they didn't use any freaking lighting equipment. That's fucking crazy. And the movie is all the better for it. You feel like you're actually there. The first scene of the movie, it's an action scene, and it is absolutely phenomenal. It uses CGI to enhance what's going on. Like when Leo is attacked by a bear, it's so realistic, it's so brutal. The story doesn't quite live up to these amazing visuals, and the story didn't have a huge impact on me, but Leo gives one of his best performances, and I think it's finally his time. It's finally his time to win an Oscar. But this movie is just, you can look at it, every frame of this movie is a fucking work of art. And Emmanuel Lubezki, you are a genius, man. You are changing the game. Now, if there has been a more inspiring piece of music written for a movie, I've yet to hear it. Rocky is awesome, and Creed, in my opinion, is even better. When this was first announced, it was met with skepticism. We're like, what? Why are they doing a fucking Creed movie? That's so stupid. But we saw it in Ryan Coogler, who was fantastic at directing Fruitvale Station, Michael B. Jordan, who Coogler seems to be able to get amazing performances out of, and it's no different for Creed. Adonis Creed is a likable character, but at the same time, he's flawed. He's not perfect. He's not this perfect guy who's gonna, do everything right. It's about him learning, and Rocky coming back as a mentor is great. They didn't need to bring him back to box and everything. He's a mentor. He's an old, weathered dude, and he's all alone. He has no wife. He has no sons. His son, basically is estranged, and so he has this relationship with Adonis Creed, and it's like a father-son bond between them, and it is so great. The movie is just incredibly, the best word I can use to describe Creed is satisfying. When everything comes together, the music, the elements, the story, the dialogue is great, and it is inspiring and just a really, really satisfying cinematic story. It's just an everyman's epic. It's just a good old movie. You can just watch these characters and everything feels honest and real, and it has real energy and heart.
It's okay. Deep breath. Bring it on. Deep breath. Look at me. I like what you're doing out there, all right? You're a little tight. You're going to loosen up, all right? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to put your left under the radar. Then when you come up with a shovel hook, you're going to see an opening, put it right on his chin, then I'll drop it.
What is this? An optimistic space movie? A space movie that's not all doom and gloom and death and sadness with... Wow. The Martian. The Martian, despite the fact that it's about a guy who's trapped on Mars. It's probably like the happiest space movie I've ever seen that's not a comedy. Well, it is a comedy according to the Golden Globes, but The Martian makes you want to be an astronaut. But this movie is going to inspire people to want to become astronauts, if they have the intelligence, unlike me. Matt Damon as Mark Watney. He's up there, he's stranded on Mars, and he has to try and figure out a way to grow 3 years worth of food to wait for a rescue mission to reach him. And what follows is 2 hours of problem solving and using science to, fight against all odds to survive and make it back home. And just the highest praise I can give The Martian is it is an optimistic space movie. It's not doom and gloom. There's no villain in it. There's no villain in this movie. It's just Matt Damon trying to use his smarts to survive on a hostile planet. And it is absolutely fantastic. It has a great use of music. It uses a lot of disco songs and everything like that. Ridley Scott is back. Space seems to be where he's good, and he needs to go back to making more space movies, and it looks like he's going to be doing Prometheus too. But The Martian is an absolute hit, is a complete crowd pleaser, a great performance from Matt Damon, and a great ensemble cast as well, and it was just fantastic to see everyone working together to bring him home. There weren't really many conflicts or arguments between characters. It was more just critical thinking and logic, and it was absolutely great, and it's really realistic science fiction while still being incredibly entertaining.
I gotta figure out a way to grow 3 years worth of food here on a planet where nothing grows. Luckily, I'm a botanist.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the big top 5, the 5 movies this year that I gave 10 out of 10 to. Let's get into it. Taking my 5th spot is the film this year most likely to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Now, if you want to talk about riveting dialogue, this movie is where it's at. As I said about Bridge of Spies, this is like watching an action movie where the action is the dialogue. Now, it's full of great performances from a wonderful ensemble cast. Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, John Slattery, Rachel McAdams, Billy Crudup, Stanley Tucci. Everyone was absolutely great in this. Liev Schreiber playing against type completely. He was great as well. And it's just such a well put together movie. I mean, sure, it's going to be boring to a lot of people, but it's so well made. This is great filmmaking here. The pacing is absolutely spot on. You're never bored, but nothing's ever rushed either. And the story is handled with so much respect to the victims, because it is about abuse in the Catholic Church and the Boston Globe journalist who worked for like a year to break the case. And it's so respectful to the story and really interesting, because this was a huge issue. And what I love about this is it portrays journalists in a positive light. You know, most movies, journalists are these fucking sleazy little dickbags who just want to, get in the way of your life. But this, it showed, the reason people want to become journalists. This is great work that a lot of people do, and Spotlight is just fantastic from beginning to end. I cannot fault it, and it has a great musical score as well. I'm just a sucker for these investigative type drama movies, things like Zodiac and everything like that. People just investigating and trying to figure things out. It's great, and this is one of the best of recent years.
They knew, and they let it happen. 2 kids. Okay? It could have been you. It could have been me. It could have been any of us. We gotta nail these scumbags. We gotta show people that nobody can get away with this. Not a priest or a cardinal or a freaking pope.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the most underrated movie of 2015. 99 Homes is an absolute powerhouse of suspense, and nobody went and saw it, and I guess nobody seemed to like it as much as I did, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why, because I was on the edge of my seat from beginning to end in 99 Homes. Like The Big Short that also came out in 2015, it's a movie about the financial crisis in America when the economy crashed. Now, The Big Short shows you what happened at the top, all the bankers and the people, who figured it out. This movie shows you what happened at the bottom, ground level. It gives you just a raw look at how people were affected by this housing crisis, and how certain people took advantage of it. And it stars Andrew Garfield as this guy. He lives with his mum and his kid, and they're evicted from their house, and as he's looking for work, he ends up running into the guy who evicted him, Rick Carver, played by Michael Shannon, a real estate broker, and he ends up working for him and starts to realize that what he's doing isn't really entirely legal. And I'm not going to go into too many spoilers for this, but it's about a man, slipping into some immoral activity, but trying to save his family. And it poses you the question, what would you do if he was in your situation? And it's just such a great look at these issues. People losing their homes. Losing your home would be such a huge, such a big thing to deal with. It's your home. It would be fucking heartbreaking, and this movie portrays it so well so many times. There's a lot of scenes with characters evicting people, and Andrew Garfield, it shows how his character really struggles with it morally, and he gives a fantastically heartbreaking performance in this movie. This is a masterclass in suspense, and there's so much. It's so suspenseful. There's a lot of I'm kind of repeating myself now. One more thing, there's a lot of great symbolism in the movie if you look out for it, and check it out, man. It's such an underrated gem. 99 Homes.
America doesn't bail out the losers. America was built by bailing out winners, by rigging a nation of the winners, for the winners, by the winners. Only 1 in 100 is going to get on that ark, son. And every other poor soul's going to drown. I'm not going to drown.
the return of my all-time favourite director in all its successive glory, The Hateful Eight. Oh yeah, this movie is overlong, it's excessive, it's gratuitously violent, and it has a lot of racial slurs. And I absolutely fucking loved it. There's not a dull moment in this movie, in my humble opinion, because the way Tarantino uses dialogue to create suspense is absolutely second to none. And this movie, while not the strongest writing of his career, it's another really great offering. And even Tarantino, at his worst or average, is better than most other movies. Now, I don't think The Hateful Eight's as good as Inglourious Bastards or Pulp Fiction or Django Unchained, but it is a great movie, and the fact that they shot it to 70mm really, really adds to the experience. I didn't get to see it in 70mm, but I did get to see it. I saw it twice, and the landscape shots look absolutely beautiful, and the score by Ennio Morricone, the master of the spaghetti western, it sounded absolutely fantastic, and it's littered with great performances. That's what he does. He gets great performances out of these veterans, and Walton Goggins, what a revelation in this movie. Dude was my favorite character in the film. He was great. Sam Jackson does some of his career best work. Kurt Russell makes a great return, and just everyone in this movie is at the top of their game, and it is so much fun to watch, and I can't wait to see it again for a third time. Yeah. I should probably get a life, shouldn't I?
When the handbill says dead or alive, the rest of us shoot you in the back up on top of a perch somewhere and bring you in dead over saddle. But when John Roof, the hangman, catches you, you don't dive no bullet in the back. When the hangman catches you, you hang.
Number 2 and number 1 now. Oh my gosh, it was so hard to separate these two. Like, they're both so great and so different. They're great in different ways. And without further ado, here is number 2. Mad Max Fury Road. I've been championing this masterpiece since it first came out in May, and I'm never going to stop championing it. I will not stop. I'm going to hunt down every human being I know and force them to watch this motion picture, because it needs to be experienced by everyone. And it needs to be experienced in a movie theater, and sadly the theatrical run's over, but I saw this 3 times in the theater, and it got better every time. I've seen it like 7 or 8 times now, and it is just one of the greatest action movies I've ever seen. It uses its fight scenes to build characters. It doesn't get bogged down in exposition. It does world building. It creates lore and background information. It just shows you stuff. It's visual storytelling at its absolute finest. The action is exhilarating. The performances are great. The cinematography is great. The practical effects, they used all practical effects, so everything feels like it's real. Mad Max Fury Road is a perfect action movie and one of the best I've ever seen, and it has been my number 1 movie of the year since I saw it in May, until a couple days ago. You're probably thinking, what? Jacob liked a movie better than Mad Max? I've done like 4 videos wherein I mentioned how this is like one of the greatest movies ever. And it was number 3 on my best movies of the decade list. But the other day I saw a movie, and Mad Max is not my number 1. So without further ado, I've said that phrase way too many times during this video, but let's get on with it. My number 1 best movie of 2015 is a little motion picture called Room, directed by Lenny Abrahamson, written by Emma Donoghue, adapted from her own book, starring Brie Larson and Jacob Tremblay. Now, this movie absolutely floored me. If you're going to watch this, just get the fucking tissues, man. Oh my god. No other movie got to me like Room did this year. It is about the bond between a mother and son, and we are seeing this through a child's eyes. Now, the story of Room, it is about a woman named Joy, and she's been captive in this room. It's kind of inspired by the Joseph Fritzl case, and she's been trapped inside this room for 7 years by this guy who rapes her basically every fucking day, and she just lives in there with a shit diet, and, you know, doesn't get to go outside. She's fucking locked in there. She was taken when she was like 17, and then she has a kid, and his name's Jack, and the movie begins on Jack's 5th birthday, and it shows life in the room. Now, I'm not going to spoil this movie because the trailer shows like basically the whole movie, so don't watch the trailer for Room. I swear, like, don't watch it. Just go into this blind, because there's a sequence halfway through the film that is so intense, so suspenseful, edge of your seat. Like, it is white knuckle shit. It is so freaking difficult to watch, and this movie is really difficult to watch because of the subject matter about, you know, being locked in a room. But the real heart of the movie is the relationship between mother and son, and the kid, Jack. It's told from his perspective, and it's about him wanting to escape the room and experience the world for the first time. Think about it, this kid spent his whole life in this room. He doesn't know anything else. He doesn't think the outside world is real. And then when he sees it, when he sees the world for the first time, there's a shot of him looking up at the sky. It's awe-inspiring. You can see the look in this kid's eyes, and this kid gave the best performance from a child actor I have ever seen. Jacob Tremblay, this kid is going places. Seriously, I thank you for this performance. You are amazing. And Brie Larson, if she does not win Best Actress at this year's Oscars, I'm gonna go fucking shoot up the place because she deserves it 100%. And really, she should have been Oscar nominated for her work in 2013, Short Term 12. She is becoming a powerhouse of an actress, and I can't wait to see what she does next. But more so, I cannot wait to see what this kid does next. He was 7 years old when he shot this movie, and he showed more emotion than many actors 5 times his age. He was absolutely incredible, and this movie is so emotional, dude. It's so emotional, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Room grabs a hold of your heart, and it does not freaking let go. I saw it twice in the span of a couple days, and the movie has not left my mind since I finished watching it. I'm just constantly thinking about it and chewing on it, and it is just latched onto me, and it is so emotional. I've never cried in a movie like I cried during Room. Honestly, it is really, everything was handled perfectly. And another great thing about the story, the dark subject matter, it's always peppered with this optimism because you're looking at it from a child's perspective, and there's always hope during this movie, despite how really, really hard to watch it is at times. And anyway, I think I've been rambling on for way too long, but I have to say, Room is absolutely phenomenal, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It just came out in Australia a few days ago, and just please, I'm begging you to go see Room because it has been really overlooked, and really I think it should be a major Best Picture contender at the Oscars, but it doesn't look like it really has a chance at winning. But Room is absolutely freaking phenomenal. I really cannot shake it. Watch Room.
I wasn't always in Room. I'm like Alice. I was a little girl named Joy.
Nah.
And I lived in a house with my mom and my dad. You would call them Grandma and Grandpa.
What house?
A house. It was in the world.
A TV house?
No, Jack, a real house, not TV. Are you even listening to me? When I was a little older, when I was 17, I was walking home from school.
Where was I?
You were still up in heaven. But there was a guy, he pretended that his dog was sick.
What guy?
Old Nick. We call him Old Nick. I don't know what his real name is. But he pretended his dog was sick.
What's the dog's name?
Jack, there wasn't a dog. He was trying to trick me. Okay? There wasn't a dog. Old Nick stole me.
I want a different story.
No.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Another year, another list, done and dusted. It's a lot of fun to make and talk about, even though it is mind-blowingly hard to put together. And sorry if I went on too long this time, but I hope you all enjoyed watching this. And just stay tuned, subscribe if you enjoyed it. And here's hoping 2016 is even better.